We need someone to bail us out of this mess. So we've drafted in Dan Geltrude and appointed him king for a day. Take it away, Your Royal Highness Daniel Geltrude from Nutley, New Jersey. He's the Duke of Nutley. Thanks for being on the show, Dan. Well, you heard the monologue. What say you?
Well, we got quite a mess here, Scott, and what are we going to do about it? Well, right now we have terrible energy policies, which, you know, you've been screaming about for months, which is causing most of this inflation. So, as Your Royal Highness, if we're going to start getting things done here, the first thing we have to do, let's start removing these restrictions on domestic oil. We got to drill, we got to refine, and we have to produce for ourselves. Second thing, we have to get rid of unemployment benefits. And you want to know why? It's because we have 11 million job openings. No one should be unemployed. If you're unemployed, it's because you cannot work for some reason, like you're disabled, and that's fine. Otherwise, everybody get back to work because we need you to. And the third thing is, because remember, I'm America's accountant, I would say we need to lower income taxes and lower capital gains. We've seen this work before in the past, that it does keep the economy going strong. And if there was one more thing I could get as a wish as a king, I would have pizza with no carbs or calories. I don't know if I can get that one.
Well, you might. As long as you eat it standing up like I do, it doesn't count. All right. So I agree. You know, your first one about the oil, I call that the airplane concept. Once we can help ourselves, then we can start helping others that really need it badly. I just mentioned in the monologue, we've seen Europe now talk about rationing fuel. All right. They're already doing it with food, but they're talking about it with fuel. I think that's a good idea. I think you make too much common sense, because if we have 11 million open jobs and we're still paying people that are perfectly healthy not to work, that doesn't make sense either. So I also want to hear about your thoughts about, I've got rumblings that the administration is thinking about raising taxes.
Well, yeah, isn't that a beaut, right? So we're in a recession, right? And we certainly have some tough economic days ahead. So you know what? Let's raise taxes. Yeah, that's the answer. How about this? Let's lower taxes, Scott, and let's force the government to spend less. I think if we start doing that, we'll see a heck of a lot of improvement. And let me say one other thing related to the supply and demand. We see that demand is dropping right now. Why? Because people just can't afford to buy stuff. So yes, demand is coming down. However, we have not resolved the supply problem, which is a key component here. For example, General Motors holding back on 95,000 cars right now. Want to know why? They don't have the chips. So again, the supply problem here not going away. So what are we going to see? Perhaps a very deep recession.
That was going to be my next question. Thank you for leading me down that primrose path. I think I was going to ask you, are you going for shallow and long, or short and sharp? Or are you thinking this could be a deep one for a longer period of time? Where are you on that spectrum?
Well, I think it's going to get worse for the next 6 months. And what I have my fingers crossed on is that we're going to see some big changes in November in Washington, D.C. And perhaps that will be the catalyst to this administration to say, you guys are getting it wrong, and unless you turn this ship around in the next 2 years, you're out too. And there's nothing that gets a politician to move more than the threat of not being reelected, Scott. That's the key. So November to me is the real turning point to what's going to happen.
And with about 40 seconds left, I'm going to say this too, Dan. I'm worried about job losses. I know that we've mentioned 11 million open jobs, but still we're starting to hear more and more of the tech sector, retail. These things are starting to add up. And they're gaining steam. They're not slowing down. That could be the next big thing to fall. Would you agree?
It could be. And if it does, that's the last piece of stagflation.
Right.
And that's what we haven't had yet, right? Job loss. So when we get that third component of the trifecta of stagflation, look out.
That's what I'm worried about too. So we're going to keep an eye on that one for us. Thank you very much. It's the Duke of Nutley, His Royal Highness Dan Geltrude. You solved it all for us there, Dan. I really appreciate it. Thanks for being on the show before a long weekend. That's great stuff. All right.